I am Jason Abraham, Shadow Teacher 33, loving the loud cicadas, the symphony cicadas on this summer day that I'm filming this. Whether this video is going to go up in the summertime or the fall, I don't know. See, I've recently felt the calling to slow down, take a little break from social media, to step away from these videos. I've felt the pressure of tyranny bearing down once again. And this channel, the Shadow Teacher 33 channel, is devoted to human potential. It's devoted to a higher expression in the human being. And so, with this higher expression, there's a feeling of freedom that accompanies that. And what I'm finding in my human experience is we have moments where we're connected with something higher. There are moments when we feel free. There are moments when we feel love. We feel these higher energies that are moving through us and moving us through a flow in life. And then other times we don't. Other times we feel contracted. We feel the pressure, the weight of the world, the weight of a tyrant, the agenda of a tyrant attempting to bear down on our shoulders and just crush us into this puny, pathetic form that no longer has a voice, no longer has a soul, no longer has a light that wants to shine. But what I'm finding, when we feel that pressure, what that is simply a calling to step away, to listen, to do things a little bit differently. And many people, they say they want to be free, they say they want to be a higher expression, but much of the time they don't truly mean that. Much of the time when people feel lost and confused, their ego, the part of them that wants certainty, the part of them that wants safety, when that ego doesn't have the answers, it's willing to listen to the narrative of a tyrant. It's willing to surrender to the agenda of a tyrant, whether that tyrant be a politician, whether that tyrant be someone with a fancy title like doctor, whether that tyrant be a celebrity, whatever the authority figure, or whether that tyrant be the worst tyrant of all, which is the false self that individual believes is true. That false self, that collection of stories, of narratives, of chatter that goes on in that person's head, that person believes is the truth of who they are. That's the worst tyrant of all. And what I've found, again, when my soul is feeling that constriction and feeling that tyrant, usually it's that inner tyrant getting really loud, and I got to take a step back. I got to give myself permission to let go of something that I've put a great sense of importance on, whether that be a relationship, whether that be a creative project, whatever I've started to place too much importance on, too much of my identity in this external thing. When I feel that pressure, when I'm starting to crack, it's time to step away. And when I step away, and I'm stepping away out of a sincere intention to remember what's important, but I'm stepping away with a sincere intention to connect with God, to connect with Source, then Source is always there. I find Source is always present, even though that inner tyrant doesn't want to recognize it. And when we're in times when we're facing tyranny, and there's a sense of fear that's going on, and once again, fear perpetuates reactivity. Fear perpetuates, again, that desire for the ego to find another tyrant to maybe replace the tyrant that they believe is oppressing them. Then when we feel that fear mounting up and that compulsion to be in a reactive state, the best thing we can do is breathe and step away. And the voice of the tyrant is always going to tell you how things are, who you should be, how things should be. This is the language of a tyrant. But Source doesn't do that. God, the real Source that is in everything and is in you, doesn't speak like that. True Source speaks with a curiosity. It speaks with a resonance of something that you just know feels right for you. It speaks with the warmth that you feel, almost like when you give somebody a hug and you feel that genuine heart-centered connection with another human being. That's the feeling of Source. It's that still small voice inside you that propels you toward something that's going to produce fruit in your life, something that's going to produce abundance, and something that's going to be greater than what your ego can imagine. And sometimes that Source is putting the idea of saying, maybe if you let go of this, maybe if you let go of that, something greater is going to show up for you. Source is okay with uncertainty where the ego is not. Source actually encourages you to step into uncertainty where the ego wants control. The ego wants safety all the time. And the purpose of this video right now is because the language of tyranny, once again, is getting very loud in the world. And much of the time people feel that when they're fighting tyranny, when they're resisting tyranny, they can somehow stop it. But what resists persists. And what I find the ultimate antidote to tyranny is knowing what Source feels like, knowing the language of Source, knowing the language of love, and allowing that language to make a home in you, building that relationship with Source, saying yes to Source, and then simply saying no to tyranny. Simply saying no. No resistance, no discussion. Just saying, I'm not going to give my authority to this thing out there. I'm not even going to give my authority to this thing inside of me that's wanting to take a hold of me. I'm just going to say no. And I'm going to open up the possibility of Source moving through me, loving me, and wanting to guide me in my being in a direction that perpetuates more love, perpetuates more freedom, perpetuates more creativity, more possibility. And I'm just going to allow that relationship to take shape and be. And Source, the beauty of Source is it's infinite. And the way it's going to show up in me and through me is going to be different than somebody else. So that's why I'm not here to tell you what to do, how to do, what you should be. I'm just sharing an idea. I'm sharing a perspective with the intention of hoping. Someone who needs to hear this, feels validated, maybe feels a sense of courage to let go of something that's holding them back, feels the courage to say no to something or someone that's imposing on them, and maybe says yes to something very special that they want to do and be. So with that being said, I'm going to end this transmission. Be strong. Be well, my friends. And I will see you on the other side.